What's up guys, DK here with Collector's Impact, and today I want to have a nice little discussion about 7th edition and the hype around that, as well as my theory on 8th edition. So, for anyone who may be unaware, the foil market for 7th edition is just absolutely on fire at the moment. Basically, anything that's foil from 7th edition is like in super hype mode, and the prices are going up like crazy for a few reasons. But the key one being that 7th edition was essentially the first main set that was produced with the foil cards within the entire box, outside of Urza's Legacy. Yes, Urza's Legacy was the very first, I think. But 7th edition is right there along with it. 7th edition is very, very iconic in terms of the era in which it was printed, the foils that were printed along with it, and the pull ratio associated with those foils. So on average, the boxes of 7th edition contain one foil rare per box. I do have some foil rares, though I can't locate them at the moment for whatever reason, so here's some uncommons, or an uncommon and a common, but still, the pull ratio on the uncommons and commons even are really, really low in these types of products from this era of the game. The key thing to note is that, I mean, the prices are just, they're getting astronomical, and that's really the reason that's cited for it. But I wanted to go ahead and highlight 8th edition as well. So 8th edition is nowhere near as hyped or popular at the moment as 7th edition, though there is a lot of potential with this one, as there's something very special about 8th edition that is really not talked about too much right now, so I'm going to shed some light on it, and that is that 8th edition was the very first set for the template changeover. So while 7th edition, it still has the old template, it's beautiful, it's one of the first to introduce foils, 8th edition was the very first to introduce this new, like, bubbled text box kind of concept that they had going on. Just the new overall design template, the new color schemes with the backgrounds, all of that was introduced in 8th edition. God, I remember when 8th edition came out, the hype and hysteria around it when people saw that the templates were different when we were at the card shop, and we started cracking packs of that, and people are like, oh my god, you know, they changed the template of freaking Magic. It no longer looks like this. It's losing its flavor. It's losing its charm. Magic's gonna die. Oh no, you know, all that kind of stuff. That was really big when 8th edition launched. And then when Mirrodin came out, it just solidified the fact that this template was here to stay, and it did, pretty much up until now. I mean, they did change it a little bit by adding the little bubbles at the bottom and doing some things to the bottom, but this general template is still very much kind of how the standard Magic cards are these days, and that all started in 8th edition. Other key things to note is that the 8th edition foil pull ratio is pretty much very, very similar to 7th edition in terms of there's only an average of one foil rare per box. There's a limited number of foil commons and uncommons. Very similar in terms of the set structure and pull ratio. So while 7th edition may have a lot of hardcore collectors and fans after it right now, I mean, based on logic at least, 8th edition has so much potential to become a collectible entity far more than it is today, at least in my opinion. And I'm not heavily positioned in it. I probably need to pick up a few more 8th edition things before that happens, if it ever does, but just using logic and reason, 8th edition is just as important, if not more important, honestly, than 7th edition in terms of the history of Magic the Gathering. It was released in 2003 in the summer. It was the 10th anniversary set, so Magic was 10 years old when this came out, and that's when they did the template change. They said that it would be easier to read the cards, and it would be more attractive for new players that were coming over from Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And things like that in 2003. They wanted to switch it up and make it look more modern, so that's what they did. And then one final note for these sets also, I'll go ahead and throw in 9th edition is the very last of the core sets that had white borders. So there's another special thing in terms of collectible versions of the core sets. 9th edition was the very last white border set. So there you go there. As an extra thing, that might become collectible one day for that reason. After that, 10th edition onward, they did black borders only for all of the cards. So this is the very last one of those. You know, just some other fun things to note about the vintage cards when they started introducing foils into the products. The foil card ratio for the vintage products, it really didn't change until around the 2000 teens. Maybe a little bit before then. I mean, maybe when you start getting into like Shards of Alara, especially since that set introduced like a full foil pack. Shards of Alara was the first set to actually have a collector booster offering. And it was just like a trial thing. They were these blister packs that had every card in the pack was foil, but it was still in the same structure as a draft pack. But you can still find those packs today, but those might be highly collectible in the future too, because it was essentially the first time Wizards tried collector packs. They didn't take off, it didn't last, it wasn't popular, but yeah, I mean, people thought that they were way too expensive. You just got the same thing you got in a regular pack, but they were all foil, and they were Pringle foil too, just like they are today. But yeah, the pull ratio in terms of the foils versus non-foils in your standard products, I want to say all the way to like the Future Sight era. Basically, you would be getting 1 or 2 foil rares per box of any of those older sets. So whether it's 7th edition, 8th edition, 9th edition, hell, even 10th edition, Mirrodin, all of the sets in the Mirrodin block, of course the Onslaught block, all of that kind of stuff, Odyssey, Torment, Judgment, all of it, Prophecy, Invasion, all of those sets have the same ratio or very similar ratio to 7th edition. And that's the thing that for whatever reason is being hailed as like, you know, that's special. Also the print run itself, I guess. 7th edition was a lower print run just because it's a core set. Same can be said about 8th edition too. So just some random thoughts and observations that I'm seeing here with the extreme hype and craze that's going around 7th edition and its foils. I just wanted to share a little bit of perspective in terms of 7th edition versus 8th edition, the foil ratios, and all of that kind of stuff. Because 7th edition just feels a little bit like it's put on a pedestal right now for some reason. Do you agree with me or disagree with me on that? Let me know in the comment section. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Are there any points that you see that I might not for why 7th edition is particularly more valuable than the others? Do you feel that 8th edition has good potential to become as valuable as 7th edition? Just let me know what you think. It's always interesting to hear from you guys. Well, that wraps up the video for today, guys. Thank you very much for coming by and checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for coming by, guys. Hope to see you back next time for another video. Take care.